I'm not really trying to sleep with AOC. Do you think that I was really trying to get in her pants?
I mean, if you were given the opportunity, who knows? But I assume
yeah,
not.
I would doggy style her. I'd bend her over and right on the Capitol steps. Of course. My point
You're not
being,
helping. Care what
doing
she
a
was
miniskirt
wearing.
to Congress.
I don't care what she was wearing.
I don't know. I mean, if you're wearing a low-cut brassiere and people look at a woman's cleavage, is that necessarily bad?
Look, when I see a man in a suit, I'm like, that's a nice cock immediately. But I don't say it out loud.
You really?
Yeah, I like suits. Suits make him. I like a man in a suit.
That's why you like the way I look. AOC and I still my date. I'm going back to DC.
Stop.
You cannot. Our love story is not over yet, Dylan. It's just getting started.
Please leave
That's
the
what
woman
you
alone.
don't understand.
Please leave the woman
No,
alone.
oh my God. Now I'm gonna use you. I'm gonna have a rose. I'm gonna be like the Bachelor. Next time I see her, I'm gonna be on my knees with a rose and a ring. I'm gonna say.
But
I'm
you've
gonna
already
go to Walmart
ruined
and buy
it. She's just gonna
$24
see you as the guy who made comments about her ass. You've already
and I'm
ruined
gonna say,
it.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I just want that ass in my face. So I go. I'm gonna say that, and then she's gonna say, you know what? And she's gonna put her butt right on my nose. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm with the man of the plan, the Ukrainian Foreign Legion nightmare, the ghost of Kiev himself, Dylan Burns. We're cross-streaming and we're debating political sexual harassment. Is that correct, Dylan?
I don't know. I don't know. How, that's a weird debate topic. Debating political sexual harassment. I want to talk to you about it. I'm just very curious. I'm very curious. I'm genuinely curious.
I'm curious too. Hey, listen, if I knew everything that I did or why I did it, I mean, then I wouldn't probably have a lot of the mental insanity problems that I have. But yes, I'm happy to discuss this in a civil manner, and we can get to the bottom of it. And I guess you're probably wondering, why did I sexually harass AOC?
Well, I guess I'll just ask with that. Do you consider it sexual harassment?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, for sure. But see, this is why. It's because people are like, why would you do that? And the thing with AOC is she complains, and I don't know how familiar with AOC is, that the reason why people are mean to her is because they want to date her. And like there was this viral photo of her fiance Riley and his feet. She's like, everybody's obsessed with looks. Everybody in the conservative side is obsessed with my looks. So my point is, listen, Dylan, the reason why you're even talking to me today is I started going to city council meetings and I started speaking seriously when I first went. They just ignored me. You know, when you spoke serious at these meetings, they didn't care about who I was or what I was saying. But the crazier that I got, I started to get more attention. When I started talking about the Fauci ouchie, I started being pro-abortion. I started saying what I call, it's called culture jamming, where I'm just taking like the most absurd parts of our culture that like the mainstream media, basically regurgitates, and I was kind of jamming it in people's faces. My point being is, I couldn't get a response from any politician when I was being serious, and at the same time, I would watch other people, Dylan. Excuse me, someone run down the wrong pipe. I would see other people talk about how their house caught on fire, their neighbor's house was on fire, and the fire department didn't do a good enough job, and their house caught on fire, and they lost everything, and they were crying. They're like, can the city help us? I would see people how they lost their kids to CPS because, they got like a DWI, and the city council members would look at them like, whatever. The mayor would look at them like, okay, I don't even give a crap. I only care about what's in front of me and what my, whatever I'm getting donated from. They didn't care about the people, right? So I realized these politicians don't care about us. So that's when I started going crazy and I started trolling them. Like one of the first reactions I ever got was in Dallas, we have a mayor named Eric Johnson. And this is right during the vaccine craze, like when it was rolling out and everybody's like, you got to get vaccinated. I was like, hey, Eric Johnson, you should give free Johnson & Johnson vaccines from Eric Johnson in the neighborhood in Cedar Springs, Dallas. It's a big gay community. I said the gay community would love the double entendre. And I said, since you're the first openly gay mayor of Dallas, it would be great. Well, he's not openly gay. He's married, and he has 2 kids, and he was really affected by that. He was mad. He remembered that. He's like, oh, my gosh, this is a guy that called me gay the next week. I was like, it was just an innocuous joke. I'm not even trying to be rude, but I could tell that me saying that had an effect. And then, it comes to, the machinations of where I've got as a content creator. Now I've started to call out a lot of politicians to their face. I'm sure you're familiar with Dan Crenshaw. Yep. You're familiar with that video?
I'm not familiar with the video, but I'm familiar with Dan Crenshaw.
So it went viral. I went and I confronted him at the Texas GOP event. I confronted Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz is, and you'd like why I confront him because they gave $80 billion to the Ukraine, which you would love. You're on their side. And I also got mad at Dan Crenshaw because Dan Crenshaw, there's mothers that are complaining about getting baby formula. And what he said was any parents that complain about that is a puppet for Putin. And so my biological father, Tucker Carlson, said, you're eye patch McCain. Even though you're conservative, you're really kind of like a globalist. So I went and I called out Dan Crenshaw. I said, "You're Eye Patch McCain. You're a globalist." Dude, the left-wing media, he ran to the left-wing media, called me, said I assaulted him, did all these lies. It came, all the footage came out. I didn't assault him. I didn't do anything that he said. He ended up proving to be a liar. He tweeted at me, he tweeted the video, and then he called me a immature, which is not wrong about that. But he also called me a little boy, which I'm much taller than him. So obviously he can't even tell the truth. I mean, I'm 6'4", and he's like 5'4". But my point being is these politicians have thin skin. So if I would have gone up there and just, said, like Adam Kinzinger, a guy got in, he's doing the January 6th. I called him a traitor. I got in his face. He just ignored me. But my biggest thing ever was AOC, and it was planned. And the reason why is because I have to culture jam her. I knew that the only way to get a response, if I would have just said, "You're a socialist, you're stupid, you suck," she just ignores me. But if I go up to her and I say, "Oh, you're so sexy, you're a big booty Latina, I want to date you," I knew that I would get a response from her. I didn't know I'd get the response that I got. I had no idea that she would go to make 10 Instagram, videos about it, and then make a survey about it, and then post a survey, go to the media, then come out of the Capitol and proceed to throw the Capitol Police under the bus and say that they let people in on J6. So, yeah, did I expect that response? No. But was it calculated? Yeah, 100%.
So the purpose of you being like the provocateur, I guess, do you identify with that word provocateur?
I'll identify with it. I'll identify with troll. I'll identify with it. I mean, everything. I'm not. That's another thing too. Is I don't know if you understand this or people understand this. Is I don't mind being the butt of my own joke. Like I don't take myself seriously, and I really don't even want to be mean. Like when I troll somebody, I typically like for me to be the person that's taking the brunt of the joke. I don't really like to
immoral, morally
necessarily take the,
man.
as the British would say, take the piss out of other people, unless it's like some big time politician. But I don't mind being the butt of my own joke. Is my point.
So I guess so the purpose is like you weren't getting attention from people when you were like being like, "Hello, here's my very well thought out paragraph on why you should lower the tax rate in Manhattan, whatever it is," and so. When you act in the way you do, very provocative, you go out, you make jokes, you be performative, you do your song and dance like you did with your vaccine song, Bullet in Putin's Brain, and all that stuff, then people pay attention. It gets shared on Twitter, it goes on Tucker Carlson show, you get to do the whole media circuit, and people pay attention to whatever political point you're getting across. So that's why you do it, right?
Basically, yeah. I mean, and it's like people. It's like, "Oh, you do it for attention." Well, of course, I have a podcaster. I create content. I want people to see it. I'm not gonna lie. "Oh, I do it because I don't want anybody to see it." That would be a lie. No, I want people to see it 100%. But that's another thing is when people actually get to know me, then they realize that I do have an opinion, that I am well spoken, and that I can articulate some things. Obviously, you and I have different political viewpoints. That's neither here nor there. I actually consider myself more in the middle than like ultra right. My point being is. It's hard to get somebody to even pay attention to you unless you do something outlandish, and it started working, and so that is why it snowballed into where it's almost like an alter ego, primetime 99 Alex Stein, and it is what it is. It's taken on like kind of a whole new whatever identity, but the reason why is because it's effective. It's effective, Dylan, in a world where there's other people that do this. On the left side, they're called the good liars, where they kind of LARP as like conservatives and go to conservative events, and they talk to QAnon people that say, "Oh, JFK Jr. is coming back," which is not going to happen, obviously. But there's other people kind of doing it on the... What?
You never know. Okay, I'm betting on it.
Okay, that's not happening. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what they do. So they'll go to like a Trump rally and they'll talk to the craziest person that'll say something like, "Joe Biden's wearing a mask and Jim Carrey fell up those stairs. That wasn't Joe Biden." Like obviously that's not true, right? But they just find the craziest people. It's kind of like me when I go to like a abortion rally. I find the craziest person that's like, "I love abortion. I want to murder babies." Ah! It's really not that hard to find crazy people on both sides, and really it's just like putting a magnifying glass. They're probably the worst people that are in both sides, both cultures, the left and the right.
You think that's good for our culture? Like the idea that we go to like rallies and we'll just highlight the craziest wackadoodles possible, give them the biggest platform. Because I mean, like I've done that before. I've done it and it's fun. But I also worry, and this is separate before we get back to it, but I also worry that if the perception I give my audience is the right wing is the literally just the craziest fucking wackadoodle I could possibly find, that's going to be when they think right wing, that's what they're going to point to. Now, I already think the right is generally already like off the rails. But when I find the most craziest, when I find the person saying like Bill Gates facts, like when I find those people, I'm giving my audience a certain perception. And I would say, like, you're doing the same thing. Do you think that's healthy for a democracy, for us to view people in that way, to produce content like that?
Well, no, it's definitely not healthy, but this is the problem, is I don't think it's healthy anything the mainstream media says. I don't think it's healthy to watch CNN. I would think that everything you watch, whether it's in the Ukraine or whether it's in Dallas, Texas, is some sort of propagandized bullcrap that's bought and sold by multinational corporations, because every single mainstream media, television, radio show is bought and sold by advertisers. So those advertisers are the ones that are paying for the content, and because those companies do not have the ability to feel empathy, because all they care about is making money. So we're basically being run by not humans. Even if you're left or right, it doesn't matter. We're being run by corporations. So I don't think it's healthy to turn on the mainstream media. So for me as an independent content creator, me saying like, oh, what I do is unhealthy, it's like I'm like a small 1/1000th of a percentage bad compared to what the mainstream media does, in my opinion.
So your thing is like, it's weird to hold me to a standard that we don't even hold for mainstream media corporations or other things. Like, you're holding me to a different standard, even though I'm much smaller.
Oh, that's what I think. I mean, I shouldn't have to, I shouldn't have to be any different than they are. It's like, do you think, and listen, we can debate this, but like, do you think that the mainstream media, or do you think that these multinational corporations, like, I know, I guess you're considered more liberal, but like, do you think that like the banks and, Apple, all these companies, do you think they actually care about human beings?
No, I think their main interest is profit. And that sometimes aligns with the benefit of humanity and a lot of times doesn't. It depends. Situation.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's some, corporations like, oh, well, we donate X amount of money to the Red Cross, and I'm sure.
Well, no,
I'm
not talking about that. I'm talking about that. Like, if somebody finds the most efficient way to put food on my plate, that's good for me, right? If somebody can find the most efficient and most cheap way for somebody to put food on my plate, that's good for me. But in other instances, when it comes to labor abuses or union busting, obviously, I think that's bad for humanity. So it just depends on like what, like, corporations do bad, corporations do good. It just depends on what makes them the most money.
Well, Mussolini described fascism as a merger of corporation and state, and I think you could basically argue now that we are in a fascist state already, because you and I couldn't get in the pharmaceutical business, you and I couldn't get into the car business. There's so many businesses that we can't get into, and they're basically already merged with these companies. Like, you look at like 2008 when the crash, they bailed out all the banks immediately. So you look at with the COVID pandemic, the reason why we have a lot of inflation, they bailed out all the businesses, yet people still struggled. So that's my problem. I think we already basically are in fascism, where every single politician can be bought and sold through a political action committee that is basically donated from a company or some representative, a lobbyist for that company, whether it's the oil and gas industry, whether it's the green energy, Green New Deal lobbyists. These are all lobbyists that go to Washington, D.C., that basically pay these politicians to make decisions, and they don't make those decisions on our behalf. So that's why I think that that's probably the biggest problem in the world to me today, is the multinational corporations that run the world. And that's why right now you're in the Ukraine. Listen, I get it. You support the Ukraine. I'm not even going to hate on you. Like, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you should be in America. I don't want you to get hurt, for the Ukraine. But what I'm saying is, if you don't think it's kind of an accident, and this is my tinfoil hat conspiracy, we get out of a 20-year war in Afghanistan for weapons of mass destruction that we never found, and then conveniently now we're in a war in Eastern Europe that is basically going to be, it's only going to get worse. I think you would agree that we're only going to have to get more involved. We're not going to have to get less involved. If we're $100 billion in now in donations, we can't literally walk away from it. It's kind of like a sunken cost analysis. We've already sunk so much cost, we have to keep going. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess first I would say, and I do at some point want to bring it back to the original instance, but I would say I don't think fascism is as simple as like the merger of like the state and like corporations, because if that's the definition of fascism, then every country on the planet is fascist. From China, America, Russia, like every single country in the world.
China's kind of fascist, right?
Well, I would say there's countries that have fascist traits, but I don't think every country in the world's fascist because they work with corporations. Because every country in the world, unless you're like literally North Korea, works with corporations, or like the idea of a private sector, right? So I would say like a lot of it has to do with like a certain like hardcore nationalist tendencies, the suppression of opposition. Like there's a lot more that goes into fascism, in my opinion. I think
fascism, in your opinion, it has to be nationalism, though. It has to correlate with nationalism.
I think basically, I would say that's. I don't think like fascism. I think fascism is not like a single thing. I think it's like a checklist. I think there's like multiple things that usually fascists are, or like fascism is, and if you like hit like 7 out of 9 of those things, then you're basically there. And I think you don't necessarily have to be nationalistic, but most fascist nations or fascists are hardcore nationalists. What type of nationalists? I mean, it depends on the country. Whether it was Japanese fascists supporting the emperor, or it's a fascist in some, I don't know, like middle of Timbuktu. There's many different breeds of fascists. But when it comes to the idea of like, well, all of a sudden there's like another war, I mean, like, that's human history. Humans are violent creatures. Humans can do disgusting things to each other. And so the idea that a war would end over here and another one starts over here, that's all of human history. I don't think that was like manipulated and made by the big forces just to make money. I think there's geopolitical, cultural, and ideological reasons that the war started, outside of like just like the military industrial complex acts as the puppet master. I think people sometimes overemphasize how much influence the military industrial complex actually has in making wars start. When it comes to profiting off the wars, they're great. But when it comes to making the war start, I think the American military industrial complex did not have much of a role in starting this war.
Well, I think you could just see Lindsey Graham tweeting, you know, of all the problems America is facing, is that he's putting a legislation to make Russia a terrorist, you know, what is it, a state-sponsored terrorism state, that they sponsor terrorism. Which, you know, I just think there's bigger problems than, you know, saying that they sponsor terrorism. There's probably a lot of countries that sponsor terrorism. But my point being is people even on the right, the neocons, they love war. So
you have a
for me,
problem
I'm a
with
conflict.
It? Like
yeah, I'm a conflict interventionist. I hate war. I think that's the last thing we should do. I think
do you have what's the problem with labeling them a state sponsor of terrorism? Because when you look at like the LPR and the DPR and like the type of activities that they engage in, I mean,
well, we should be then America's terrorists. We should be state sponsors. We killed 1 million Muslims for weapons of mass destruction that didn't happen. Did they kill 1 million Americans?
I'm not asking about hypocrisy, because of course America's hypocritical. I'm asking, do you think there's any moral objection when it comes to labeling them a state sponsor of terrorism?
If we're not going to be considered, if we're not considered sponsoring terrorism, then I don't think Russia is a terrorist sponsor.
Russia is free to label us a state sponsor of terrorism if they want to.
Do they label us one?
They could if they want to.
I'm just saying, you know, listen, Russia's not perfect. Putin obviously kills a lot of people that, I'm not trying to, you know, carry Putin's water. Journalists that speak out against him, they have him killed. I'm not saying Russia's some great place either, but they use the term, you know, to what is it, a terrorist sponsor, almost like the same way they use it like in Afghanistan, as if like they have people that are going to fly a plane here into America. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Well, and now you see the astronaut. Well, this real quick though. You see now the Russian astronauts are not going to be on the International Space Station now. But my point being is we still have geopolitical connections with every country. Like, you know, we still have programs with Russia that we're still involved with. So if there's such, you know, terrorists, then why do we use them in our space program still? Why do we still have connections with them? It's all a political theater, in my opinion.
You know, I could just say, exactly, let's cut all those ties. I could go really hard if I could just go even harder.
So why don't they? Why don't they cut all those ties?
I mean, the labeling them as state sponsor of terrorism, unironically, would be one of the steps you would do to cut more of those ties, economic ties. Because once you label something a state sponsor of terrorism, it's a lot more difficult for a lot of companies to do business in said country. A lot of NGOs to do business in said country. This is what happened when the Trump administration labeled the Houthis a terrorist organization. Then a lot of NGOs had to pull out of Yemen because they couldn't do work there anymore because they didn't want to have their assets frozen because, you know, they were working with quote-unquote terrorists, right? And so the idea is by labeling Russia a state sponsor of terrorism, we can up the pressure on the Russian Federation. That's the reason we're doing it. It's not really... You can... Of course, I can make the argument that castrating prisoners of war is like extremely brutal and deserving of punishment. I think you would agree with me on that. But I think there's a functional reason why we're doing it. It's not just like a, hey, look at us, we're making a moral declaration here.
Well, we do need to get back on topic, but you seem to know the conflict even better than me. I mean, so what are we even going to get into World War III? Because of the Donbas region? Because they're threatened by NATO? They're threatened by the United Nations? I mean, what is the real reason that we're even fighting and supporting the Ukrainians? I know you're on Ukraine's side, but what's even the point of it?
What's the point of the fighting?
Yeah.
So Vladimir Putin, I wrote like a really long essay, and I recommend people go read. He also did like a speech that people can go listen to. Now, there's a lot of it that's just like verbose bullshit. Like he's like, J.K. Rowling got canceled. It's like, no, he didn't invade fucking Ukraine because of J.K. Rowling. Like, obviously, he's just kind of like signaling to like foreign audiences, trying to garner favor. But I think it has to do with a few reasons. I think one of it is geostrategic balancing, that they want to have control of Ukraine because they get access to Ukraine's resources. They
Wait, real quick. No, not to cut you off, but they just want a small part in the Donbas region, right? They don't want all of Ukraine.
they when he launched the war, he gave like a list of like, this is our goals, and one of the goals was pretty clearly like regime change. They even shipped Lukashenko, which was the pro-Russian leader that fled the country after his police brutalized protesters, and he enacted like anti-protesting laws that led to like people pushing him out. They actually flew him to Belarus under the idea that they were going to install him in power. So they were trying to do a regime change. They were trying to capture all the country. They tried to capture the capital, Kiev. They just failed. So they were trying to capture all of Ukraine. They just didn't succeed at doing it.
But real quick, do you think the Ukraine has any leverage on Joe Biden because of Hunter Biden's illegal business dealings with him?
No, I think Viktor Shokin. This is the people talk about Burisma. I actually did a huge video on Hunter Biden recently. It's like 55 minutes where I go into Hunter Biden's like obvious like nepotism. I'm not gonna like defend Hunter Biden's actions either with the Chinese companies or with Burisma. I don't think he should have been on Burisma. He's not like an energy expert or anything like that.
He's not an energy expert.
He's not an energy expert. But I also find
I could have fooled me.
So I believe that there were people trying to get access to, you know, the former vice president and possibly the future president of the United States. I just don't think they succeeded, and I don't think there's any evidence that they succeeded through Burisma or.
You don't think they succeeded giving them almost $100 billion?
No, but the thing is, there's.
So you don't think they have any blackmail on Hunter? Sorry.
Okay, well, Burisma is a specific company that's separate from the government of Ukraine. So if it was Burisma, I would assume there'd be certain deals about American oil, since Burisma's like an energy company, or with the Chinese company, and I would assume there'd be like deals with the American government with the Chinese government. None of that happened. In fact, there's not really any evidence that anything happened. People point to the firing of Viktor Shokin, but Viktor Shokin needed to be fired. He was an extremely corrupt prosecutor who, if your main issue with Ukraine is corruption, and then your main prosecutor who would prosecute the corruption is corrupt, it obviously doesn't work.
But Dylan, you'll admit that they're still corrupt. You admit that Ukraine's still corrupt.
Of course, Victor, I mean, we're corrupt, but to a lesser extent.
I agree.
But I would support America if we got invaded. Yeah, they're corrupt, but I also believe that they've made strides forward. They just need to continue to make more strides forward. But yeah, I do think they have a corruption issue, and that was Joe Biden was trying to deal with when he pressured Ukraine's government to fire Viktor Shokin, who was a corrupt prosecutor. And if you're a corrupt prosecutor, you're not gonna prosecute corrupt people because you're fucking corrupt and you value corruption. And so I think that that was the reason Viktor Shokin was fired. I don't think it was because Viktor Shokin was gonna like unearth some big like scandal about how Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were doing this thing. Like, there's no evidence to it. Like,
I don't know. I think you're naive.
But there's no evidence to it.
We can speculate. You're right. It's pure speculation. But don't you think it's weird that Hunter Biden, every time he's with a prostitute, whips out his camera phone and weighs the crack on camera? I mean, have you ever smoked crack, Dylan?
I gotta say, sadly, I have yet to smoke crack, but I'm young and I have many experiences to come.
Okay, but if you were to smoke crack, do you think that you would have the foresight to not whip out your cell phone and start filming it as if you were making like a vlog?
We have to vlog everything. We have to take pictures and video everything. If I mug someone, I'd film it. I'm a streamer. What do you expect?
I know. Hey, I'm the same way. I vlog everything, but I've experimented with lots of different drugs and done this. Luckily, I don't do drugs anymore. But my point being is, I've never taken a selfie with me and a prostitute. I think
psychedelics are awesome. Allegedly. But I mean, like, Hunter Biden. The thing that's crazy about Hunter Biden's like story, I don't want to get too much into this, but the Chinese like government official, not government official, but the Chinese company businessman literally giving him diamonds. If people really dig it, he's literally given
$1 million diamond. $1 million diamond.
I don't know if it was $1 million. I thought it was like 10,000.
I thought it was.
Diamond. But he being given.
I thought they
diamonds.
gave him a $1 million diamond, but
well, they gave him millions of dollars, but he gave him also diamonds on top of that. And like him sneaking in like his affairs into his office space so he can like do stuff in the office with his affairs, and his drugs affecting the amount of money he's taking. I think Hunter Biden is somebody, and all of this was going on while he was high as a fucking kite. I think Hunter Biden blew all of his money. He was taking up massive credit card debt. I think he had over $300,000 in massive credit card debt. He was high as a fucking kite, massive drug problem. And so he, against the advice of the people around him, accepted the Burisma job, accepting the Chinese company job because he wanted to make money. He needed to make money because he was in massive debt. He shouldn't have accepted it, but there's no evidence, as far as I could find from any of my digging, that any of that like influence peddling ever reached Biden. In fact, Biden didn't even know about any of these Chinese deals until like way after, when it was about to be reported in some news articles.
Come on.
No, this is true.
Come on.
Joe Biden
You're too
didn't,
naive.
Joe Biden
he
didn't know. Joe Biden didn't know about this until, let me finish.
Yeah,
Joe Biden didn't know about this 2018, 2019. People talk about the laptop. As far as I know, only 22,000 files on a thing with I forget, it was like 367,000.
That's one laptop, though.
Yeah, but
he's
the thing
on
is,
crack. He went
I
through
gotta
laptops
say,
like he went through toilet paper.
Okay, you're somebody who holds a lot of suspicion. Obviously, you speculate a lot. You hold a lot of suspicion about the world. Do you not find
the king of the conspiracy castle?
The story about the laptop does not raise any red flags. That a person,
how that he brought it in there cracked out trying to get it fixed, and then the guy told on him.
But the guy who was legally blind saw supposedly, but he
the guy with the weird hat. The guy you're talking about, the computer guy with the hat, the guy that's always in all the things with the same hat. Yeah, he's weird. There's a lot of stuff that's weird, and I personally think it's they're going to humiliate Biden. I think they're going to use this evidence to make him step down because nobody's supporting him. I think they even surveyed him. 75% of Democrats don't even want him to run in 2024. So
yeah, I think Hunter Biden should run in 2024. I support Hunter Biden in 2024.
Yeah, you would like that. Okay, but this is the other thing is we got to talk about this real quick. The CIA. We talk about George Soros. Conspiracy theorists hate George Soros. But you saw that clip where John Bolton admitted that they do coups in other countries, right?
Of course. I mean, he admitted it, but like we all know it. Also, it's not like that's not like a surprise.
So I mean, you don't think Ukraine could have been another country where we did a coup or reinstalled, the prime minister?
I'm positive. It isn't the case. The factors that were involved in the Revolution of Dignity, if you talk to any Ukrainian about the Revolution of Dignity, they're going to talk about it as like it was a shining moment of democracy against somebody who was, this is what Lukashenko does. People forget about why he was thrown out. Number one, he was throwing himself out of trade deals that people looked very favorably upon the European Union, because most Ukrainians want to integrate more with Europe because they want to be able to travel throughout Europe freely. They want access to the job market. It's like a positive thing for them. That's the first thing. The second thing, he's incredibly pro-Russia. And a lot of people don't like the whole idea of like Russia having as much influence in the political scene in Ukraine as Lukashenko would want. But here's a big thing people forget. He was also a massive fucking authoritarian. He was passing like laws that made it nearly impossible to protest.
Yeah, but they're still authoritarian. But they just kicked out the opposing party in the Ukraine. There's nothing more authoritarian than that.
I think it's perfectly fine. The thing is,
if there's a uniparty in the Ukraine, the opposing
party.
No,
there's not a uniparty. The problem is if you have parties in your country that are pro the country invading you, how are you going to function as a government against it? Abraham Lincoln did the same thing.
It's called a democracy. That's called a democracy.
What do you think of Abraham Lincoln? He did the same exact thing. People will talk about Abraham Lincoln suspending habeas corpus, him arresting Confederate sympathizers, him kicking out Confederate sympathizers from government. And most people look upon that kind of favorably. Why? Because he won. And the most important thing is stopping the people from within your government destroying your national security. We understand from an American perspective why Abraham Lincoln did these things, because he had to protect America. He had to beat the Confederates. He had to beat the traitors. And you can't beat the traitors if the traitors are running your fucking government. And so many of these people in these parties, many of the people in these parties were literally, once the invasion started, being, this is good, we should surrender. How the fuck are they going to be the people you allow in your government if they're literally working with the invader and encouraging the invader? Then you're a collaborator.
Yeah, but the victors write the history who wins in a lot of these stories. I'm not saying that the South is good either, but it's like, it's revisionist history. I think that there should be an opposition party. Well,
there should be an opposition party, but if the opposition party's opposition is, I support the person invading the country, castrating soldiers, slaughtering people at Bucha, then obviously that's a national security issue. I know
you keep on talking about the castrating soldiers, but I just want to say, did you not see the videos where the Ukrainians have people taped against the poles and were doing stuff to their genitals as well? You know that.
I don't know about
videos.
They did stuff to their genitals. I know about the people getting taped to the poles. Yeah. The idea that like basically that this is, and I don't like it.
Hard and feathered.
The idea is what they do is they take them and they tie them to poles because they're accused of things like looting or theft. And so they tie them to poles, they paint them with like some sign that says, I am a looter or I'm a piece of shit, and then they wait for the cops to pick them up later. And I don't like that. Okay, I think that's terrible and that's bad. But that also
is that cruel and unusual?
That is cruel and unusual, but that's also not castrating somebody. Let's be for real. Let's like talk about like the difference here. Would you rather be tied to a pole or castrated, Alex? I want to be for real.
Of course, but you know, there's a saying, all is fair in love and war. You know, and that's why I don't like war. That's why I'm anti-war, because I don't think it's good.
I think the Ukrainians should win, so the war can be over as quick as possible.
Yeah, but dude, you have to know that the Russians have more pride than probably Americans. Like now, if you say you're a nationalist, says you're a Nazi, you know, you're terrible. I think that Russia probably still has nationalism or national pride. So you think that a country as powerful as Russia, one of the world's superpowers, is just going to lay down, even if they? Because this is the thing: you can, in this modern day and age, you can't even win a war. America couldn't beat Afghanis with a bunch of Toyota Tundras and weapons from the 1970s that we gave them. So if we cannot even beat, Afghanistan or Iraq, why do you think Russia, no matter how big and powerful they are, is going to beat the Ukraine? They're not. It's going to be a constant proxy battle. They're going to get cities. They're going to give cities. It's going to cost all this money, and it's all going to be a waste.
Eventually, they're going to have to leave. They're going to have to realize.
Yeah, but it's going to be 20 years. It'll be like 20 years.
No, there's nobody that I know of that no like strategist or anybody that I know for any repute that is saying it's going to be 20 years. Now, I do think it might take a lot longer than anticipated. But I also think that's ultimately...
You're young. Ultimately... Well, you know, the war in Iraq was supposed to be like a month. Sorry, go ahead.
The war in Iraq was a month. The occupation was the big thing. The war in Iraq was over in 28 days. The occupation was like 8, 9, 10 years. So that's the thing. But the Russians haven't even done that part. They haven't even taken over... There's no occupation because they didn't take Kiev. They didn't take all these other large cities. The only big city that they really took was Mariupol and Harassing. And Harassing looks like it's going to be taken back by the Ukrainians soon. They're destroying Russian logistics in the area. I'm excited for the counteroffensive. But, like, I believe that the Ukrainians ultimately are the ones who make the decision on whether they get to keep fighting or not for their national liberation. I think that's perfectly fine for them to do that. I mean, wouldn't it be weird if some, like, I don't know, person from China came to us during the American Revolution and said, you guys need to stop fighting the British. War is bad. Ultimately, that's up to us if we were going to fight the British or not. And if it wasn't for French support, we wouldn't have been able to win.
Yeah, the French did help us win. People were wondering where you're at. Tell them that you are in a bunker in the Ukraine. People were wondering where you're at. Yeah,
I'm in a bunker in
for the people
Ukraine,
playing at home. yeah. Dylan is actually in the, he's where we're talking about. So that's why we're talking about this. And I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree. I know, you're obviously a stand for the Ukraine, but you have to admit, though, too, do you think that the Ukraine is going to legalize gay marriage or give trans people rights?
I got an update about that. Since we've last talked, there was a petition that was filled out that's going to be reviewed by Zelensky on gay marriage in Ukraine. The reason they actually were able to get enough signatures during wartime to do this. And a lot of people are like, but that's not an important issue. But it actually is for gay soldiers, because if they die in battle, their spouses can't retrieve them. Their bodies will be left and they'll rot and they won't be able to retrieve and have a proper
I hope
burial.
you find a husband there. I'm not just saying that facetiously. That'd be kind of cool. Then you'd have the Ukraine citizenship. Wait, but what about abortion? What's the Ukrainian abortion laws there?
I actually have no clue. When I get an abortion, I'll tell you.
Let's Google it. Let's see. Is abortion legal in Ukraine?
I'm pretty sure it is. It's also legal in Russia. Russia has actually some of the highest abortion rates in the world, and they're supposed to be the TradCon country.
Abortion in Ukraine. Abortion is legal on request during the first 12 weeks of pregnancy. So after 12 weeks, it is illegal. That's not that big of a window, but whatever. In Texas, it was 6 weeks. Now it's banned. Okay, so listen, Ukraine's not perfect. America's not perfect. Let's get back to, we're just going to continue to, run in circles about this. So let's get back in.
Didn't you also ask me why it was happening, though? Like, you asked me, like, why?
Oh, yeah.
I do want to answer that.
Well, I'm saying, but, like, I guess my question is, why couldn't Ukraine just say, oh, here's this, property you want. We're not going to change your regimes. And, the people that want to be pro-Russia, the party that's pro-Russia, they get to live in that part of the Russian part of Ukraine.
Well, I guess, like, because I think a lot of people just assume that the Donbass, like, everybody in the Donbass, like, supports Russia. But when the people that I met when I was in Zaporozhye, all the soldiers and stuff, they all spoke Russian, but they were the same ones fighting the Russian soldiers. People think, oh, you speak Russian, therefore you support Russia. But that isn't necessarily the case. I speak English, but if the British invaded America, I wouldn't exactly be fighting on their side. Right? Just because you speak the language doesn't necessarily mean you support the country that language originates from.
Wouldn't you agree it's impossible that British and America, would ever get in a war now in this day and age? So isn't that an impossibility at this point? We're so aligned.
Sadly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, basically, I'm saying that I think people simplify it to assume that the Donbass is just like pro-Russia. When I went to the Donbass, I actually just got back from the Donbass. I was in Kramatorsk. And in Kramatorsk, the people I talked to this medic. He was like a real-life Desmond Doss. He's a Ukrainian medic who has a religious objection to using guns. So he has like a bulletproof shield that he uses when he goes and retrieves the wounded. But when I talked to the locals there, in Kramatorsk, while I heard shelling in the distance, they seemed... I remember one of them told me, I speak, in my mouth I speak Russian, but in my heart I speak Ukrainian, because he wants to speak Ukrainian. He wants to be more in touch with his Ukrainian cultural roots. But since he's in the East, there's like functionally he just speaks Russian more. And
it's already kind of Russian-ish area, but
yeah, but just because you speak Russian doesn't mean now the Russian government is your king and god, and they'll choose whether you get to be part of the country or not.
Well, it's like Del Rio, you know, is on the border of Mexico, and I was just in Uvalde, and like almost everybody there is Mexican, even though it's America. You know, not everybody's Mexican, but it's a heavily Mexican influence. I don't know how many people would need to die if they needed a couple. We would never give them a couple acres. I'm just saying, it's like, you know, some of these border towns are, you know, filled with the opposite. You know, they might be in that country, but they're filled with people from the other country.
You can look at like what happened in Crimea, because there's a reason why people are so resistant to it. It's because in Crimea, what happened to a lot of political opposition, like Tartar activists, for example, they would disappear, and like a week later, their bodies would end up found dead, imploded in a river, right? Is because the Russian government, that is, would not take too kindly to political opposition. Their laws around freedom of speech are much more restrictive than they are in Ukraine. For a lot of like queer Ukrainians, obviously, like I think it's pretty obvious what they like. Their conditions in Ukraine aren't perfect, but in Russia, the conditions for queer people are obviously much worse. I think there's a lot of reasons why people would be super against it, and especially if you see like the way they talk about like Ukrainian identity in Russia. Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of Russia and like Putin's in many ways right-hand man, once called Ukraineness a disease of the mind, right? They think it's like artificial, like it's like almost fake. And that's why the Russian government even banned the Ukrainian language a while ago. So
you know how I know Ukraine's gay though?
How do you know, Alex?
Because Zelensky and his wife are on the cover of Vogue magazine.
That was awesome.
During the war.
They should only do that going forward. Every day Vogue should just be Zelensky and his wife. It's awesome. I'd support it.
They should have been on the cover of Playboy. I would have had more respect if they're on the cover of Playboy magazine shooting hardcore pornography. But you don't think that was a little bit out of touch, where she's like in a dress next to the soldiers with Anne? You know, they wouldn't even put Melania Trump on the cover of Vogue, but they'll put Zelensky on
it's
the
almost
cover
like it's almost like Zelensky's done a lot more than Melania Trump.
False, dude. No, Melania Trump has better tits than Zelensky. What about Zelensky playing the piano with his penis? Does that make you like him more?
I don't agree that she has better tits than Zelensky. I prefer Zelensky.
Okay, but seriously, I kind of like that Zelensky's a comedian and got in power. That's like the one thing I do like about him. But you don't think it's like, you know, it's such a serious country though. There's all those Ukrainian Got Talent where he's playing the penis.
I do love that, and I send that to everybody every chance I get. But when it comes to like the Vogue shoot, this confuses me, because I feel like there's more outrage about the Vogue shoot than a lot of the war crimes that are actually.
Well, shouldn't it be National Geographic? Should it be like a real magazine, not Anna Wintour's Vogue?
So the thing is, what I like about Zelensky when it comes to how he handles the war is he doesn't pretend that he's like a general, you know, like he's like make it like I know what we do, we'll attack here. He doesn't know anything about armies. He leaves that to the professionals in the military. Where if this was Lukashenko or if it was Lukashenko, then he just would have surrendered. If it was Petro Poroshenko, he would be playing general, because that's just the way he was, Petro Poroshenko. But Zelensky is playing to his strengths. As a comedian, as somebody with media training, he is going to every single news publication. He's going to the Oscars. He's going everywhere, making speeches. And the war's been going on for over 150 days. And he has kept Ukraine constantly in the media, because that's his job as the figurehead of Ukraine. James de Gaulle in 1941 did a similar photo shoot with his wife and his family, and nobody cared about that. Why? Because he was fighting for the liberation of France, and people knew why he was trying to keep France and the liberation of France in the news, because people knew that he wanted to liberate France, and he wanted to keep it in the news so people would support France in their struggle against fascism. So I don't think there's any problem with that. I think it's fine. Charles de Gaulle, not James de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle, sorry.
Do you think we need to keep on giving them more? Obviously, like, you know, what about all the problems here in America? Do you think we should be reallocating some of those funds to help with the homeless problem, to help with the opioid epidemic? You know, we had over 108,000 drug overdose deaths this past year, a record number. You look at our immigration in D.C., they're saying they're being overrun. They have to call in the National Guard. Yet here in Texas, they don't do anything. They just act like, oh, it's no big deal. But listen, and I'm not trying to even, sound like I'm some worrywart. But dude, I go walk around Bachman Lake every day. I see new people with like a brand new backpack, a new T-shirt from Walmart with 2 masks on, and a new cell phone, walking around, have no idea where to go. And I'm not even anti-immigration, to be honest. I'm just saying,
Alex,
you don't think we should be
honest
supporting?
With me, Alex. If we stop supporting Ukraine, do you think those issues would get solved? We wouldn't. And
I don't know.
And if
I mean,
we
they
didn't
probably
send this
keep them
money
on
to
purpose.
Ukraine, let's be for real. It would just go to a different military contractor in a different country and something else. It wouldn't go to homeless reform. It wouldn't go to any of these issues.
I have to agree
so,
that I have to agree that it would go to a bunch of military bullshit.
If it's going to go to military bullshit, might as well go to military bullshit that's for a good cause.
I mean, I wish we would actually secure our border. And I'm not even anti-immigration. I just think that the drug trafficking that's coming through our border is so bad. So many young people. I've had a lot of friends that have died of fentanyl overdoses. And I just had a friend of mine, Jordan O'Connell, who just died. A 35-year-old guy just died. Inflation
is a huge crisis in the country. And I will not have you inflating the price of cocaine on my watch.
It's a fentanyl. I think the cocaine's fine. That keeps people alive. Usually that keeps their heart beating. But now we have all this fentanyl that's being rushed through the border, and people are dying like crazy.
Yeah, I agree actually with it. But did you see that Matt Gaetz voted against that sex trafficking law recently?
I mean, Matt Gaetz, listen, and it's funny because, he went viral for saying that everybody at a abortion rally is, like, too fat to get pregnant. I kind of vibe with that. But, dude, the evidence against Matt Gaetz, too, there's some bad stuff. His best friend got in trouble for sex trafficking. I'm not trying to say that you're responsible.
Like right there.
Exactly. What I'm saying is, dude, my close friends, I think I would know if they're sleeping with, kiddish type people. Does that make sense? Like, it's unless they were being totally secret about it, like, I would know my best friend. I know that he's not a pedophile, basically, is what I'm trying to say, So there's, especially my best friend, this guy was his best friend that got convicted. I think that's a big red flag when it comes to what I think about Matt Gaetz.
I don't know why he voted against the sex trafficking legislation, but I would think from his perspective, he should never have done that because just the headline, Matt Gaetz votes against anti-sex trafficking legislation. It's just like, it's terrible. It's like the legislation had to do with like creating homes so sex trafficking victims could like live separate from their abuser. They'd be able to go there so they don't have to feel trapped with their abusers. And like a lot of it is like train people on how to like identify sex trafficking. And he voted again. He was one of 20 people. The vast majority of people voted against it. He was one of 20.
I don't necessarily agree with that because I'm saying him voting against it because that is insane. And I see a lot of, like I say, I see children with adults and they don't look like they're their parents. And we know that there's people, not necessarily from Mexico, because Mexico City just made a complaint that Mexico City is getting too gentrified with people speaking English. So these people are coming from South America. They're coming from all over these countries where they're basically selling their children, and those children, they're not getting a job when they get here. They're not working at McDonald's. They're getting a job and they're being abused sexually. So the sex trafficking in this country is terrible, and that's just a big problem we don't address. And I think that our border between Texas and Mexico, or Mexico and Arizona, or Mexico and California, to me, call me America first, whatever, I don't care, I agree with that. I'm saying I think that's a bigger pressing issue than the border between Russia and Ukraine.
Well, I do think it's a big issue, but again, and I can talk about like how we would deal with sex trafficking or like border stuff and this. We're getting a little bit off track, but like I don't think if we stopped sending money or aid to Ukraine, that money's then going to be directed towards sex trafficking.
I have to agree that we have a misallocation of funds. I'm not going to argue that. I don't think that if we gave them, if they had an unlimited budget, which they do, I don't think they would try to fix the problem.
We've put some money towards a moral cause, and the last thing I'm going to do is move that money away because that money's just going to end up in fucking like. It's going to be like Central Africa, or it's going to be in like Timbuktu, Boogaloo, someplace that I've never even heard of.
And a cobalt mine. It's
going to be an Africa command, or it's going to be somewhere that it's doing a lot less good. And I'm seeing the good here. I remember walking through the trenches. Okay, I sound like I'm LARPing there, but I was in Zaporozhia in a trench, and I saw
LARPing a little, but it's okay. You're allowed to LARP.
American munitions. I saw American like food, and I saw, and it
was
good to
they're
see.
shooting American rockets right now. That's the only thing that's defending Ukraine.
It's fantastic.
I know that's not a conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy.
That's out in the open.
I like it when diplomacy is honest like that. I prefer it. Like I don't like that we overthrew. I don't like John Bolton. The implication of what John Bolton said when he says, hey, we overthrew all these things, but I prefer him being honest.
I guess, but they're never honest. We don't have any honesty. Okay, but let's go, because now let's say, we got another 20 minutes. Let's kind of wrap things up about, let's get back to the topic at hand, why I sexually harassed AOC, because, that's the hot button issue.
Here's the question. So you were talking about that you do these things. You're a provocateur. because you want to get across a political message. So the political message you wanted to get across is that AOC thinks some people don't like her because of she's attractive, or like what was the political message?
No, it's because what she said was her exact words is Brett Kavanaugh was eating dinner at Morton Steakhouse, and I believe he had to leave out the back door, and he didn't get confronted by him. And in her tweet, she said, "We need to make these people uncomfortable." Her exact tweet was, "We need to make these people," just Google AOC uncomfortable. So my point being is when you sexually harass a girl, when you hit on her like that, it makes them uncomfortable. Trust me, I know, you know. And so that's what I was trying to do is literally, just from her playbook, whether you want to call it Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky's playbook, I was literally trying to make her uncomfortable in a way that went to the line, tiptoed the line, but it didn't cross it over because, listen, I said, "Oh, you're a big booty Latina. You're so sexy." Now, you can say, "Oh, that's so bad," but she interpreted it as she immediately went to her Instagram and said that I said, "Big juicy ass." I didn't say juicy. I didn't say ass. So it just proved that she's a liar. She's a hypocrite. And when she actually gets sexualized, she melts down.
I think a lot of people would probably melt down in a situation like that where they're walking to work and somebody walks up to them and just say, "Hey, nice ass, motherfucker." You start catcalling them. Then people are gonna melt up. People are gonna get angry. I mean, it's a
she's from the Bronx. Real quick.
It doesn't matter if she's from the Bronx or not.
Yeah, well, J-Lo from the Bronx is known for a big booty. And let me tell you something. These are the same people that love drag queen story time for children. They don't care if we sexualize children. As a matter of fact, they want libs of TikTok kicked off the internet for teachers talking about the sexualization of children. They say the Don't Say Gay bill is the worst thing ever. They want teachers. I'm just saying. They want teachers to
Alex,
be.
that's above you. The they thing where you say they do this.
What do you mean it's
they? Do that. How about we talk about AOC? AOC. We talk about AOC. We're not talking about
AOC has said the Don't Say Gay bill is racist because, and if you read the bill, it doesn't say don't say gay anywhere in it. It's because they don't want to have sexualized content or talk about sexual adult themes to children, and they think that that is racist. So I think it's very weird that they want children to be sexualized. They want to teach children how to masturbate. They want to teach children about same-sex relationships. But as soon as I say that you got a big booty Latina, oh, I'm the worst sexual harasser in the world. Yet these people are literally peddling sex to children, and that's not a conspiracy.
As far as I know, AOC has never said that she thinks that we should teach children to masturbate. Now, I do believe that there are problems.
Okay, real quick, let me cut you off. You've seen the people on the left though say that there's representatives in the White House that have said I'll pull up the woman that said they want to teach children how to masturbate. That is not a conspiracy.
Like, you can send me the link.
Let me pull it up.
I'm unfamiliar,
okay.
But this is like we're talking about AOC because the thing is, what I don't like it when like somebody's like they did this and you're like, well, somebody else who's not AOC, but then we're talking about AOC, and so none of this would justify.
But she's the biggest representative. She's the biggest representative of the left. She is literally like the most popular congressman. AOC, she's the most popular congresswoman. Would you disagree with that?
She's
besides
popular,
Pelosi?
but she's not the biggest. She doesn't have as much influence as a lot of people who are less popular than her.
Oh, I doubt that. I think she's
wait.
obviously.
What about her committee positions? Like the committee positions she has doesn't hold that much weight compared to people who are more senior Democratic Congress people who have been in there for years and have built connections and could actually become president, right? AOC couldn't. If she ran for president, she'd lose. And she'd lose not only because like I don't think the country's ready for a person like AOC, even if she was to run, but I also believe she doesn't have the connections. There's people much more powerful than AOC. Absolutely.
Well, here, I'll send you this. This is a school in New York in her district where a teacher was teaching their students about masturbation. And there's people, I got to pull it up. I'll send it to you after the debate. Okay. But there's multiple people that have defended, teaching kids about sex. So
I'm sure there's crazies everywhere. Like I'm sure I could find you crazies of every stripe. But we're talking about an individual congressperson. So unless it's like the congressperson did this, I don't really care that much.
Okay, but do you not think that AOC or any politician, because they're a celebrity, right? I can't necessarily, like, if I was to do that to just Joe Blow, woman on the street, not Joe Blow, Nancy Joe or whatever, some random, that would be even creepier, right?
It would be because I'm doing it to a politician.
Yes, but I'm not doing it I'm not really trying to sleep with AOC. Do you think that I was really trying to get in her pants?
I mean, if you were given the opportunity, who knows? But I assume
I would doggy style her. I'd bend her over and right on the Capitol steps. Of course. My point
You're not
being, Yeah, but my point being is that obviously I was sexualizing her in a trolling manner, and if she thought it was so bad, why did she come up and give me a piece? Why did she say, "Why don't we get a selfie"?
It was passive aggressive.
She liked
she was
the
trying
attention.
to. She was trying to find a way to blow you up. Like if somebody says something mean to me, and
She's
I
trying
just,
to blow
wait,
me
wait,
off.
wait,
That's how you trying to blow me off. Oh,
okay,
come on, come on,
Have your
come
fun.
on.
Have your fun. So this is the thing. Like if you go to like with like a Walmart employee and you're like, "Fuck you, motherfucker! You fucking anti." I
didn't say that.
Let me
say
finish.
that.
I'm just giving you an example. If you go to a Walmart employee and you say nice whatever, they're not gonna say "fuck you, piece of shit." They're gonna be like, "Sir, please leave," and they're gonna smile, and you can tell what they're doing is they're being extremely passive aggressive, but they want you
Maybe
to leave.
the Walmarts in
right?
Ukraine.
She was doing that.
They're different than the Walmarts in Texas.
She even said like she wanted to deck you, but then she didn't, and she did a peace sign instead. So you know that she was angry. She even said it afterwards.
Okay, if it was so bad, why didn't her fiance say something to me?
Was her fiance there?
Riley was right there in the video, so you haven't done your research. No, her fiance was right there. Yes,
that
Google
just
it.
makes it. That makes it. I don't want to say that makes it worse, but I mean, I think in American cultural standards, that makes it worse. Like, I'm like
Why
if I
say something to
if
me?
I walked up to your mom in front of you and I said she had a nice ass, I'm pretty sure you'd be pretty pissed off at me. I would assume.
Honestly, I mean, if you said my mom had a nice ass, no, I wouldn't be that mad. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily like it, but I wouldn't deck you. If you said my girlfriend had a nice ass, I would be a little more mad. My mom saying a nice ass, I don't know.
So if I
mean, my
walked
mom
up to your girlfriend in front of you and like she has a
people.
nice ass, she's a big, I don't know what race she is, but
I would say something to that guy. I'd be like, "Hey, buddy, back off." AOC's fiance Riley didn't do any of that. He just walked down with his head down because we know who wears the thong in that relationship. It's AOC.
I assume he probably didn't want to get involved in any scandals or like feed the troll, so to speak. But AOC then fed the troll, so then.
She fed me a buffet.
But the thing is, she was
steak
angry
and shrimp
because
buffet.
you interacted very inappropriately. Like you do realize catcalling's wrong, right? You don't catcalling's wrong. It objectifies women.
Honestly, no. Okay. Listen, if I was to really say something nasty, but to say you're sexy or you're pretty,
it wasn't just you're sexy. It was pretty. You got a nice ass. You're a big booty Latina.
I didn't say ass. I didn't say ass. I never said ass. I said you're my favorite big booty Latina. I said you're my favorite big booty, and you look very hot. Jill Biden called Hispanics breakfast tacos the day before.
That's
Dylan.
bad.
That's why I called her
That's bad. You're holding yourself.
That's what they think
Your
of it.
standard is Joe Biden.
Do you not get what I was doing?
Your standard
Joe
Biden. I get what you're doing, but it's bad.
His wife. But do you not get? Look, yeah, because what I'm doing is called culture jamming. I'm taking the most absurd parts of our culture, like the president's wife.
You could have done this in a million other ways. If you wanted to get across.
That's how Monday morning quarterback, Dylan. That's everybody wants to Monday morning quarterback it. Oh, you.
I will Monday morning quarterback it when you sexually harass people on their way to work.
Yeah, but but listen. First of all, you and I are different. We're totally different.
Like if I was
never do this.
Alex, if I was over here and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go like I don't know, like commit a war crime or do something bad, and then you're like, Dylan, that's bad. I'm like, oh, look at Alex Stein Monday morning quarterbacking my coverage of Ukraine. Like if I did something bad, it's right to criticize me.
You're a war crime by saying you're a big booty Latina. You're comparing that. It's not even close.
No,
and first of all,
I didn't say
Dylan.
It was the same thing. But you listen to me. If you would have criticized me because I said something bad over here or I did something bad over here, that would be justified, and it would be fine for you to do that. And so me criticizing and saying you could have done it differently, and you could have got the same message across without catcalling, without sexually harassing somebody, without making them feel the way you made them feel. Yes, you could have. Yes, you could have. There's a million different ways.
I had to get a response.
You want to know how you could have gotten a response?
Set a trap,
you could have done it a million different ways. You could have like gone over there and be like,
how would you have done it, Dylan?
You could have been in one of your suits and you could have like had a ring ready and could be like, AOC, I want you to date me, and you like get down on your knee, like do the whole ring, and it's like a whole moment,
and
you do that without sexually harassing her. Boom, there you go.
I'll do that next time. But Dylan, and I mean this with all due respect,
there was no other way. I had to sexually harass her. Come on.
That's the only way Primetime 99 operates. I'm a sex freak. I'm a freak for the vaccine. I'm a freak for that big booty Latina. My point being is, Dylan, listen, you are sitting here and defending war, literal war, where children and family and cats are dying, but you get mad when I catcall a politician in a joking manner. You don't think that's a little hypocritical? Don't you think murder is worse than catcalling?
Okay, I think that defending yourself is fine. If someone was to assault me or try to rob me, I have the right to take out a gun and defend myself. That's what Ukraine's doing on a national level. I can do that and also say catcalling women's bad, sexual harassment is bad. I can hold those two positions at the same time. Those two positions don't confront with each other at all.
Yeah, well, okay, listen, as a gay man, though, too, do you think the gay community is sexual with other gay men? Do gay men catcall each other?
Dude, sometimes, and I've had that happen to me, and I didn't like it. It was bad. I've
Well,
had somebody,
I'm just
I've
saying,
had some people call me like I was like a white cupcake. It was fucking, it was, I didn't like it at all. It was bad.
I kind of think you're
It's like a vanilla.
bit
It
of
was a vanilla
cupcake.
cupcake.
Well, it's
It was
not,
vanilla.
you're a
But I
little
don't.
vanilla pudding is what I call you. Vanilla pudding, Dylan, the Ukrainian pudding.
Thank you.
That's good.
Alex.
Tapioca. I would call you tapioca. Well, it doesn't matter. Listen, this is the thing: is you're taking it too seriously. You know that I like to joke around. I'm,
I
not a
know,
serious person.
But the thing is, the thing about jokes that I like, and the jokes that you've done that I have liked, Alex, is when you like go into and you fuck with politicians in a way that is like way within the bound. Like you go, for example, like what was it? It was like your rap, and you go in and you rap and you do your whole song and dance, and it's hilarious to watch these politicians just sit there uncomfortable or like kind of like shifting in the chair as you like Putin's and you do the whole thing, and it's hilarious. And it doesn't cross any lines where you're like catcalling people and making it about their body parts or like their sexuality, or you're making comments about their look. If you're not okay with somebody doing it to your girlfriend, then you shouldn't do it to other people's girlfriends or any women. Period. It doesn't matter if they're a girlfriend or not.
Yes, but see, this is the thing is, and I do agree with you on a normal stance, like into a woman on the street. I don't think that would be right. I agree with you, but I'm saying this is different because I'm trying to make a politician uncomfortable. I have one shot to even communicate with her.
Is
so
there
I'm,
like a
I'm,
line
I'm, I'm,
though? Like there has to be a line for
There
like
is
how
a line.
we
Yeah,
interact
there
with
is a line.
politicians. Like
That's
for
why
example, if I went to like
didn't
Judge
cuss,
Kavanaugh's
I didn't say
house,
anything really that sexual.
if I went to Judge Kavanaugh's house and I like had a sign that said, "Look out, motherfucker, I'm coming for you," like that would be over the line,
threatening a
right?
politician would be a line. I agree. I think threatening anybody, especially a politician. I don't think we should threaten any physical harm on anybody.
But I think
ultra
catcalling and
complimenting
sexual
somebody-
harassment, I think, is over the line. Like you could have like gone after her in so many different ways that was not sexual harassment. Like there's a million ways. Could you like do you realize the statement like how could I have made a point without sexually harassing her? It sounds like the most deluded fucking insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
No, it's not. You're not realizing she talks about how she's always sexually harassed. So I wanted to give her a concrete example of it. And the one time she was actually sexually harassed, it became the biggest story for 7 days.
You don't think that she's gotten like look, if you open her DMs
Not
on
like
Twitter,
that.
it is probably of the most dirty shit I could ever imagine.
DMs, I get dirty DMs. I'm sure you do too. That's that's neither.
But that's bad.
That's nothing.
It's still bad to go up to somebody and do that like in their face on their way to work. That's bad. It's bad to sexually harass people. Like, I mean,
I never said I'm the bad boy. I'm like Dennis Rodman. I'm not a role model. You don't want to be like me. That's why there's only one primetime 99. Am I a bad boy? Yeah, I'm bad to the bone.
Alex,
I'm like
it's not
barbecue
gonna,
sauce on some baby back
ribs. You do realize,
bad.
like, it could be like a thing. Like your thing you did went very viral, right, Alex? Like, you went on Marjorie Taylor Greene show. You went on Tucker. I think. Did you go on Tucker's for this? I don't think you did. Did you?
No, I was on Tucker the week before.
You went on a lot of people's programs. A lot of people saw it. There's like, and a lot of people have been copying the meme and sharing it around and having a lot of fun with it. There's a decent chance that like AOC could be like walking down the street and it's like somebody remembers your clip, sees her, and like just walks up to her, and like from now on people are just gonna be like, nice ass AOC, and that's just gonna be the way people engage with her, and that's fucking bad.
Did you see her dress? Did you see her dress, Dylan? Do you remember the dress that she's?
I don't care what she was
wearing.
wearing.
To Congress.
I don't care what she was wearing.
I don't know. I mean, if you're wearing a low-cut brassiere and people look at a woman's cleavage, is that necessarily bad?
Look, when I see a man, I'm in a suit, I'm like, that's a nice cock immediately, but I don't say it out loud.
You really?
Yeah, I like suits. Suits make him. I like a man in a suit.
That's why you like the way I look. Wait, but seriously though, honestly, like I get what you're saying that it's not appropriate if it was a woman at a Walmart. And my argument is that listen, this
she's
is
a politician,
AOC.
so it's different. But I think
she
that
just said to make them uncomfortable. You know that, right? You know that tweet. Do you know the tweet I'm referencing where she literally said to?
When she said
Google it
make
right
them
now.
uncomfortable, I don't assume what she meant by that is go sexually harass Republicans. I think that was not at all what she meant.
Make the rules of how to make people uncomfortable.
What she meant is that like you like protest out their business outside their fucking like offices, and you like yell at them, and you say, hey, you should not. You should save the planet.
That's better.
That is better than sexual
yelling
harassment.
and saying
yes.
F you.
You could have
Oh my
done
God, no
that.
way!
Absolutely, absolutely,
No way!
absolutely.
No,
What do you? Wait.
Physically intimidating and scaring somebody.
Wait. No.
Than
I did not say that,
over-complimenting.
Alex. I did not say physically intimidating.
no.
I said yelling at somebody, saying "fuck you," stuff like that.
So you think? So you real quick. We gotta kind of wrap this up. But you're telling me you think it would be better if I said "F you, you suck"?
Absolutely.
That's less bad than me
It would have
saying
had
you're beautiful.
absolutely. Well, think about. How do you think she would have reacted to
See,
it?
that's
Wait, no.
not-
Let me finish.
She gets that all the time.
Alex.
No, let me finish this. Let me finish.
Oh.
Because Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, just listen, Dylan. Marjorie Taylor Greene tells me on those steps of the Capitol all the time. People say "F you, fascist," the C word, the B word, and she just goes about her business. So that's why I was extra nice. I killed her with kindness, and it
You
worked.
did not
because
kill her
it
with
doesn't
kindness.
get you anywhere.
Catcalling isn't
Yes, I
kindness.
did.
Catcalling is not kindness.
It's the ultimate kindness.
No, it
It's
isn't.
the ultimate kindness. Dylan,
Why?
yes,
Wait.
it is, but saying
If
you're
it's the
sexy is
ultimate,
kind.
wait. If that's the true fact, if that's true, then if I walked up to your girlfriend and I said she had a nice ass, right? She had a nice booty in front of you, or any of those words, you would be cool with it because it's the ultimate form of kindness.
Yes, because you're a gay man, and I wouldn't care. I wouldn't feel threatened.
Okay,
I would say, well, Dylan's
come
complimenting her on her ass, so why would I care?
Come on, okay. But now actually answer the question. Like if somebody walked up to you and in front of your and said this to your girlfriend to you, you would be very uncomfortable. You even said it earlier.
Has anybody ever people? But I'm saying in the matter that Riley said it, like I said it to him. But I've had friends of mine, girls I dated, like, oh, your girlfriend's good looking, she's hot, she's sexy. So I've had people say that in a friendly way. Said the people I've dated are sexy. I've had that, and I didn't freak out.
Okay, but there's a difference between walking up to somebody and giving them a not well received, not wanted sexual comment.
It was well received. It was well
received. It was not well
received.
It was not well received. It was not because
she
you
signed me.
You
she
even
vibed with me. She came to me.
You know
her body
it
language
wasn't.
is coming to me.
If you need to be so socially unaware. You need to be so socially unaware.
False. She came to it. Our energies were like magnets. And as a matter of fact, AOC and I still my date. I'm going back to DC. Stop. You cannot. And our love story is not over yet, Dylan. It's just getting started.
Please leave
That's
the
what
woman
you
alone.
don't understand.
Please leave the woman
alone. No.
alone.
Oh my God. Now I'm gonna use you. I'm gonna have a rose. I'm gonna be like the Bachelor. Next time I see her, I'm gonna be on my knees with a rose and a ring. I'm gonna say.
But you've already ruined it. She's just gonna
$24.
see you as the guy who made comments about her ass. That's what you've already ruined
I'm gonna
it.
say, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I just want that ass in my face. I go. I'm gonna say that, and then she's gonna say, you know what? And she's gonna put her butt right on my nose.
Do you think the morality of this like matters to you at all, or is it just kind of like, I'm the bad boy, I do what I want, kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm not like, see, that's another things too. I think on the conservative side, people want to, because, you know, dude, I got crushed in the conservative media. Jesse Waters, Laura Ingraham, Bill O'Reilly, all called me a heckler, a jerk. I don't know, are you familiar with that? Did you see that, Dylan?
I saw like a few conservative commentators condemn me. I thought Bill O'Reilly condemned you.
He did, yet he paid like millions of dollars in sexual harassment claims himself. Luckily, I paid $0 in sexual harassment.
Why would you care if he did any sexual harassment though? I mean, that's all complimentary, right? All sexual harassment.
No, to physically say, see, that's what it's saying. You're taking what I did as actual
That's
harassment.
the ultimate compliment, right? Isn't that the ultimate compliment?
That is a compliment. Real sexual harassment, if I would have been like, oh, let me get that ass, let me fuck it, and I didn't say anything nasty.
Wait, what do you
I
mean
didn't cuss.
real sexual harassment? You did sexual harassment. You even admitted it. Like, this is sexual harassment.
It's like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 2 on the sexual harassment scale. It's not a 0, but it's
still
a 2.
bad. If I was a 2 on the assault scale, that would still be bad.
Not really. If you kind of push somebody, like at a protest, they were blocking my, like at just Florida, I was just at a protest, and they were blocking the walkway, and I pushed some people away. I pushed their sign. The reason the cops didn't arrest me, they tried to arrest me, but they were impeding my walkway. So that's like that's barely assault, but it's not actually illegal assault. Does that make sense? So there are levels to bad stuff. So yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that you I'm not saying that you physically like sexually assaulted her, or you did the worst type of sexual harassment ever. Like, I'm not saying that. What you did was sexual harassment, and it was wrong. Though that's not how you should engage with politicians. You should not go up and sexually harass them. That's not how you should engage with people, period.
That's how you engage with politicians. I don't engage with politicians like that. You and I, Dylan, you would never call out a politician. I don't think you would. Have you ever gotten a politician's face and put a camera in his face and called him or her out ever in your life?
I think I did that to Steny Hoyer.
You think you would know?
I'm pretty sure I made the comment about Yemen to him. I made a comment to him about Yemen.
Well, let's see the video. I want to see the video evidence of this.
The video evidence does exist somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's from an old. It's from an old.
different school.
It was from. It was.
School bit.
It's
I
footage
like
from.
bit. I love that
footage
bit.
from 2019.
Yeah,
I remember.
Bit.
It was from my time on the Michaela
school.
campaign. It exists.
I know.
It exists somewhere.
We've all heard that. It doesn't matter, Dylan. There's no rules for radicals. For Primetime 99, you know, I'm going to grind and shine. I'm not going to do it like you would do it. And you're going to have to accept that I'm different. But you also have to understand that I'm not as, you know, maybe I'm a little perverted, but I'm not as perverted. I'm not coming from a real sexual situation. I'm not actually trying to sexualize her. I'm trying to make her uncomfortable, like she said, to make politicians uncomfortable in order to get a response from her. That's all I was trying to do.
But you know when she said that, she didn't mean go sexually harass politicians. That there was some general implication when you say, let's go make these guys uncomfortable. No, you do. You do. You absolutely do.
I don't know what
you're playing stupid. You're playing stupid,
I'm not
Alex.
playing stupid. She said to make them uncomfortable. I made them uncomfortable, bud. That's not, you have to make them uncomfortable this way. There's only a certain way you can make them uncomfortable. No, I didn't think that. Dylan. That's a fact.
I'm like, if I'm like, we need to fight for the labor movement, and then you're like, okay, and then you go assault the CEO of Walmart, that you know that's not what I meant. Like,
but if you say fight or anything like that on Twitter, they take it as actual physical. Like, you know, if we need to fight back or something like that, they take that bad. So my point being is, like, we can like argue the semantics of sexual harassment, the semantics of, you know, what the words mean, what her words mean by make people uncomfortable. At the end of the day, I did what she said from my interpretation. You have a different interpretation. If you and I are across the room and I draw a 6 on the ground, it's going to look like a 9 to you. So you and I can be looking at the same things and have different perspectives on it. That's where you're just going to have to realize is my perspective is not the same as your perspective. So when I read her tweets and it says to make them uncomfortable, I'm going to think of something different than you. We are not androids.
You know,
we're
now,
not robots. We're not going to think of the
post
same
fact
thing.
that she did not mean that. I would assume you knew it at the time.
I don't know that.
So you think she meant, like, when she said make them uncomfortable, she meant like possibly sexually harass politicians?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
You're deluded. What do you mean?
No, I'm not. Dude,
no,
all
this
they do is
moral
talk about
grandstanding.
Sex. She is pro-sex worker. I'm not. She's the biggest pro-sex worker politician there is. She thinks that, you know, sex work should be legal. So she's a bartender.
Wait,
she's a
what is
bartender
being
at a
pro-sex
bar.
work
You know
and
that,
catcalling? Doesn't, like, you can be a sex worker and be against sexual harassment.
Have you never picked up a prostitute? You got to catcall them a little bit. I mean, that's how it works. You got to, because, you know, I'm just saying, if you're pro-sex work, then obviously to get a sex worker, you have to catcall them. You have to say, can I stick my Blanca Blanc in you? You don't just get to be
you've never engaged with a sex worker in your life, have you?
I've never slept with a prostitute. No, but
well, then how do you know? Because I've never. Yeah, that's TV. That's TV. That's not how that.
I watch Cops. I watch the stings, and you have to say I'm gonna blog.
These days, it's all digital, man. People just like you just message them online.
You have to say I want to stick my blank in your cuckoo. You know?
No, you don't. That's not how you have to do it. But again, this isn't a totally different. It's also a different context. There's also a different context, right?
You have to talk. Listen, if she's pro-sex worker, then she can take a little bit of harassment. And she worked in a bar. You don't think anybody ever said anything to her drunk in a bar?
That doesn't matter if somebody's done it to her before because she was in a bar. It's still bad. That doesn't change anything.
No, it's not bad. You're just being ultra. You're trying to act like you're so moral, yet you're in a place where people are murdering each other over some land, imaginary lines drawn in the sand that are making bankers rich. So I don't think
if I went to your home and I just took all your stuff, like you could like say, oh, it's just my property, but like
take my stuff because
exactly.
I've got the Second Amendment. Okay,
exactly.
So do not come in my house.
And Ukrainians can do that too.
Doesn't look like it. They're not doing that good a job.
I think they're doing pretty good considering they're fighting supposedly the second most powerful military in the world.
They ought to be doing good. We give them $80 billion. And did you see that other Ukrainian person was caught in Switzerland with a boatload of cash with $80 million, something like that? Did you see that? And they bought a house, a Swiss chalet in Switzerland.
A Ukrainian bought a house in Switzerland. Okay.
A Ukrainian politician. Let me find out.
Okay.
Who it was.
Yes. Let me be clear. I've already said that Ukrainian politics is incredibly corrupt. I've never said that it wasn't, but you would have to prove that that has to do with the aid package for me to care really.
You don't think that there's any high-ranking Ukrainian high-ranking Ukrainian officials caught splurging on luxury real estate in Switzerland, June 8th, 2022. According to extracts from Switzerland's local registry, high-ranking Ukrainian officials have purchased luxury real estate in the land of private bank accounts and alpine meadows. So look, and here's a tweet right now. Here, I'll send it to you. I'll send you this tweet right now.
Okay, but
so
again, politicians buying big private properties happens in the United States. Why would I now
that
hold
mean
it?
It's good. That doesn't mean it's good.
But you can't bring it up in like Ukraine as if like every other country doesn't function in this way.
Because we're giving them $80 billion.
Name a single country that
happened.
But how do you know that money went towards that?
Because it's corrupt, so I can just make assumptions that it went to that.
Well, no, you do not make assumptions. A country, America's corrupt. America's corrupt, but that doesn't mean I
would argue that Ukraine's more corrupt.
Yeah, Ukraine's more corrupt, but America's corrupt. But that doesn't mean I can assume that Nancy Pelosi got her money from the fund for the border wall. Therefore, don't fund the border. This is fucking silly. This is silly logic. You're just making assumptions.
Dude, you're acting like every person of that $80 billion, every single one of it went to exactly what it was supposed to go for. And I
can tell you. Wait, let me finish. I am not saying that none of the money went to sources it shouldn't have. But I am saying you can't just bring up that a Ukrainian politician is rich and bought a Swiss home and use that as an argument against aid when these two things are completely unrelated until you prove they're related.
They're not. They're the ones that are in charge of the money we're giving them. They're not unrelated, Dylan.
You mean a Ukrainian politician? So how did they take the money?
It's called illegal business dealings, my man.
Is there evidence of it? Is there anything? Is there any evidence
for
this happened?
That they're buying millions of dollars of stuff that they shouldn't have. A politician doesn't get paid millions of dollars a year, Dylan. That's common sense.
Because they're oligarchs.
Dylan, you're not based in reality.
You're not based in reality. You're making shit up. You're making shit up right now, Alex. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Alex. No, I know that. I believe you're making up that there's like some connection between the aid and these people having this money. The Ukrainian military is not the entirety of the Ukraine. They could have funneled money from a million different things. It could be from private businesses. It could be from anything.
I'm making stuff up. So you're saying that all that money, $80 billion, none of it got misallocated.
I never said that, and don't pretend I said that. I know because I have personal stories from people in service of instances where weapons disappear or something like that, and that's bad. But I'm telling you that there's no evidence that this person buying a house in the Swiss Alps was able to buy that money from American aid. They could have done it. Okay, and again, you need to make the connection. You need to show evidence, or you're just being a conspiracy castle.
I am the conspiracy asshole, Primetime 99. But listen, you're not based in reality, and according to you, I'm not based in reality. So we just have to agree to disagree. But you admit that it's a corrupt place. I think that there's corruption going on. I think there's a misallocation of the $80 billion that we've given them. That's that, and we'll just have to agree. You think it's all going to just these people are just making good business deals with Hunter Biden, and they're just doing really good energy industry, and that's why they have all these good Swiss chalets because Hunter Biden's teaching them how to.
I think Hunter Biden should be the Republican nominee for president in 2024.
A Republican nominee? Yes. What are you talking about? You mean that freaking Democratic nominee?
He's the freedom candidate. He's pro work. He's a businessman. He's a businessman. He employed a lot of people.
Has Hunter Biden ever sexually harassed anybody?
Probably, maybe. I have no clue.
Do you think Joe Biden has ever sexually harassed anybody?
I have no idea.
He has allegations that he did.
I know there's allegations, yeah.
Maybe I can be. Does that mean I can be primetime president of the United States one day?
I mean, I think anybody can be president at this point.
I can, and I am going to be president. Prime time. I don't know the presidential song, but I'm just saying, when I'm primetime as president, Dylan, you're going to be you're going to be the Ukrainian Foreign Legion minister. You'll have the embassy, and you'll have gay marriage. Will be legal then. You can get married, and I'll officiate the wedding.
Thank you very much. But again, man, I gotta say, that sexual harassment's bad. I think you just kind of want. I think for you, it's just like
not to a politician.
So sexual. Wait. Let me be clear. Wait. So the level is sexual harassment is not that bad, or it's not bad if it's to a politician. That's the standard now.
Or a celebrity. It's like
or a celebrity.
Like, ooh, I want to. Yeah, Ariana Grande. I want to get all up in that. Those fajitas. Yeah, come on. That's not.
So
that.
if
They
I
don't
like
say that.
sexually harassed, like, I mean, there's a million people. Like any celebrity, any celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, name a celebrity. Let me think of celebrity. What's a good celebrity? Trying to. I can't.
You can sexually harass Chris Pratt. I mean, who?
Why? Why would? Why is
You're
this your
allowed to,
standard?
because-
Why you're not?
because
You're
you
legally
can't
allowed to.
defame
It
a
doesn't mean it's
celebrity.
morally right. It doesn't mean it's morally right. It's a good thing to do. It's a bad thing to do. You shouldn't sexually harass people.
Why are you you're the moral authority now? You're the morality
Yes.
police. Is that what you're saying you are?
Yes.
You've
Yes.
ever done anything immoral?
Never.
Exactly. You know what they say about glass houses? Don't throw stones, Dylan. Don't
Look,
throw no stones.
if I've ever sexually harassed somebody, I don't think I have, but if I ever did, that would be bad too. Like I don't.
You have definitely sexually harassed somebody, dude.
Who did I sexually harass?
One of those guys in the Donbas regions when there are suits. You just said you like their dongs and suits. I'm sure you saw some Ukrainian guy and you accidentally sexually harassed him in English.
I've seen Ukrainian men and I've kept my words to myself. I'm definitely look. There's a lot of places where I might feel bold.
Sexually harassed them.
Sure. I subconsciously sexually harassed them.
That counts.
And it does not. In the metaverse, it counts, but nowhere else.
What about rape in the metaverse? Is it the same as rape outside the metaverse?
I don't. Let's bring it back on the rails, okay? I don't want to talk about rape in the metaverse.
Well, Dylan, listen, you're a bright young man. You know, I think you're the morality police. Everything you do is very moral. You've never done anything immoral.
I'm not saying I've never done anything immoral. It's just it's a bad thing to do, and you could have done it so much better, and it probably would have gotten more viral.
I don't think so. It was about the most viral story, and all I did was say "Big Booty Latina." So. Comedy is not, you don't get to pick, like comedy is supposed to be a little offensive. And I'm not just saying that hyperbolically or metaphorically. It does need to be a little bit, especially with the political correctness in this day and age. And the only reason I've been successful, Dylan, is because there's a huge void. You're too young of a man. In the 90s, we were a lot less politically correct. Comedy was better. But now, because of political correctness, because SNL is so afraid of hurting people's feelings, there's nobody that's going to push the lines or even pretend to be offensive. So my
What do you mean? There's still offensive
sometimes.
comedians. Offensive comedians exist everywhere. You've got
Dave Chappelle.
You got Bill Burr. Bill Burr isn't offensive.
Okay, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle. Who else?
Norm Macdonald till he died. I mean,
that's all you can say because you know why the mainstream
I don't watch
comedy.
I don't watch comedy. I know,
but
I know there's offensive Twitch streamers. There's
group.
offensive people online. I mean, I would say most political Twitch streamers are offensive.
Don't exist. Yeah, but that's not necessarily comedy. My point being, I would say politics are more offensive.
Jimmy
than
Carr,
comedy
didn't he make that joke about the Romani community?
Jimmy Carr said some stuff, but Jimmy Carr, I think he loves the vaccine too. So my point being is these people are bought and sold. A lot of these politicians, a lot of these comedians, they know where they can make sex jokes all day long. Like Amy Schumer, what about her comedy? She's one of the biggest female comedies. Her comedy used to be all about her vagina. Do you agree with that?
I mean, she's not funny. She's not a funny comedian.
I agree, she's not. But do you remember she's considered one of the funniest female comedians? And would you
not
agree
really?
That a lot of her...
Nobody considers her funny.
Argue about that. I don't think she's funny, but she's considered by the mainstream. She has Netflix specials.
No, she used to. Now it's like everyone knows she sucks.
Okay, we can argue semantics. Everybody knows she sucks. She sucks. She steals jokes. My point being, at one point she was considered a popular comedian. Yes or no?
Yes.
And then when she was popular, did she make a lot of sexual jokes?
Yes. Making a sexual joke and sexual harassment are two separate things.
I made a joke. I was making a joke to AOC. I wasn't really trying to sleep with her. I was calling her a big booty Latina. Biden just called them breakfast tacos.
To be clear, if I walked up to somebody and said it was like, you have a nice fat cock, and then it's like, well, that was a joke afterwards. It's like, come on.
I didn't say you said that. I didn't say that.
But you said big booty Latina. You got a nice booty and hot tamale.
I didn't say you have a nice booty. I didn't say you have a nice booty. I said you're my favorite big booty Latina, and you're hot like a tamale. That's what I said. I do think
sexy. You said one more thing about a booty. I forgot what else you said about the booty.
I said big booty Latina. I never said you have a nice booty. I never said that. You can check the tape.
But I'm telling you, like people aren't gonna receive that well. Like people People don't like to be
Same
objectified
people
in
that
that
said
way.
Amy Schumer was the funniest
People
comedian in the
don't
world.
like
She
to
did-
be
she went for
objectified.
45
Objectifying
minutes and talked
people-
about her vagina residue.
Objectifying people, if they don't want to be objectified, is bad, and that's why catcalling is bad. Catcalling is bad societally. Like it's not a good thing to do.
You know, it's funny. That's the gayest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I'm a straight homo queer. Okay, so
I'm just saying you can't catcall a girl. Come on, dude.
I'm saying catcalling's
That's not that
bad.
big a deal.
I'm just saying it's bad. It's just a simple position, and you even admitted it's bad, but you're trying to find like an exception so you can do it to politicians.
To like people on the street. To people
To
on the street,
everyone,
I
it's
don't think that's
bad.
necessarily
It's
good.
bad to everyone.
Politicians are different.
They're not
Politicians
different.
That claim, yes, they are, because they are trying to encourage other people to make other people uncomfortable. So I'm just using their own playbook.
You know
against them.
exactly what
culture
uncomfortable
jamming.
meant. You know, because if it's like uncomfortable, then you could have like.
Me saying big
wait,
booty
wait.
Latina isn't mean. That's a compliment in Texas. You're not from Texas. If I say you're a big booty Latina to a girl, they'd be like, "Oh, here's some free queso with your chips."
I don't think that's the
Mexican
case.
restaurant.
I don't think that would have happened.
That is the case. That is.
I don't
You've
think
never been
so.
to Texas. You don't know. You get a lot of free
Have you
queso.
ever done
compliments.
that? Have you ever done that with big booty Latina to a random
Are
Latina
you
woman?
kidding? Yes.
Then you're a serial sexual harasser. Jesus.
No, I make sex. I have sex. I'm not a virgin, you know, but I don't harass with it. I'm a very, you know, I exude sexual
Well,
energy.
there's
And it's
footage of
hard.
you doing it. You're one of the few people I can point to and talk to on an active basis that I can say that I've sexually harassed women on camera very publicly and then posted it online.
Listen, I made her uncomfortable like she asked for them to do, and it worked very well. So I'm effective. I'm beautiful. I'm sexy. I'm smart. I'm a big booty Latina myself, even though I'm not Latin, but I have a lot of those Latina vibes myself. So, and as a trans person, which you know I am because I'm Alexandria, I shouldn't be persecuted for this because I'm already
persecute
persecuted
you.
so much by society. You are calling me bad stuff and saying that I don't have good moral character, and so.
I mean, like what you did was shitty, and like if you're trying to like find like a way to
False.
wiggle out of it.
False. It was good what I did, and it was.
It isn't.
epic,
You didn't
and people
achieve
love it.
anything. The only thing you achieved
What
is.
do you mean?
Is you sexually harassed a woman?
She went into the Capitol and she came out. She threw the Capitol Police under the bus.
Okay,
so
so-
what I did is I actually helped to people's court cases because listen, say what you will about January 6th, people were let into that building. You think that QAnon shaman with his stupid horns?
What?
Had a
Well, I'm
key and
not
unlocked
gonna
the door
talk. I'm
himself?
not gonna talk about QAnon. Okay, they're all traitors. Okay, we can go on to another thing. But the thing is, what you did didn't achieve anything. There was no broader political point that was made. Nothing happened. All you did
Why
was
are
sexually
you
harass a
having this
woman.
Conversation. It
Because
affected
you-
so much so that you challenged me to a debate
To
about it.
be
So if it affected
clear,
you that
Alex,
much-
Alex,
listen,
if you
it
took
affected you that
feces and you
much,
smeared
then
it on the Capitol
effective.
steps, I might still interview to ask you why the fuck did you smear feces on the Capitol steps? That doesn't mean you achieved anything.
I achieved a lot with it.
Really?
A lot with it.
What did you achieve?
Yeah, because I called out her hypocrisy. I've gained nearly almost 100,000 Twitter
Okay,
followers.
yes,
I've gained a
I'm
lot
sure
of
you've
notoriety.
personally achieved a lot when it comes to your career. You went on a lot of podcasts, so it was
so
good
why
for
is that
you.
bad? Am I not
Good for
supposed to
no one
personally
else
achieve
but
shit?
you. It was good for you and no one else. Exactly. That's how sexual
not
harassment
true.
always works.
It calls
That's
out-
why.
it calls.
That's how
not
sexual
true. It
harassment
calls
works.
out the
That's
hypocrisy
sexual
of her.
harassment.
And
That's always how it's been. It
entertainment.
benefits the sexual harasser.
No, you don't understand. It's also entertainment. People enjoy watching that video. People laugh from it. It's called comedy. So I did comedy, and people are entertained by it. So you can say, oh, nobody enjoyed it. A lot of people laugh at that video a lot.
I didn't say
Dylan.
nobody
So I
enjoyed
made
it. I
people laugh.
said you were the primary benefactor from it. You didn't achieve anything
And
politically.
the people that got the free content and the people that got to watch the video for free and laugh all day, they benefited. When you laugh at something, are you benefiting from it?
Do you think that like laughing at somebody's pain like that though, or like harassing somebody, like do you think you enjoy that?
Pain?
Yes,
Oh my
unironically,
God,
yes.
You're such
Yes.
a pussy.
Oh, come
Pain.
on.
Oh, you think
Oh,
she was in
come
pain?
on. Do you think you don't
come
know?
On, Dylan.
Do you know? Like no, women don't like
AOC was in
to be
pain.
sexually
You're
harassed.
such
It
a
can be
little baby
emotionally
baby.
painful. Okay. I'm sorry that you don't have this connection with people to understand.
She was in pain. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dylan.
I'm very sorry.
Pain is
You
the
can't make the
people that are
connection,
dying in
Alex.
your
You can't make the
country.
Yeah, I see pain on a daily basis, okay? But this
Yeah,
is this
Me saying you have a big booty is not pain.
it can be
bud.
it can be emotionally
not.
sexual
It's
sexual harassment can be
not.
emotionally painful, yeah. Yeah.
No, it's you are such a little Latina that never had a quinceañera, and that's why you're sad. If you just would have had your quinceañera, you would realize that Big Booty Latina is one of the best, most complimentary things that you could ever say to a woman. But you don't understand that.
I
You think
don't believe
everything's
that's the
pain.
case. I don't believe that's the case.
Hey, but what about this? What about this, though? You know, and this is the people on the left. They always play the victim. Do you really, truly think AOC is a victim by being a 32-year-old congresswoman, one of the most powerful people in America, arguably?
I think that she's a person of immense power and privilege, but I don't think that doesn't mean she can't be the victim of something. Like, I can be extremely powerful and wealthy and still be the victim of, like bullying or harassment. But it's like, I mean, like, obviously, like, that's disconnected. Okay, well, it is gay, but that's fine.
Let me tell you something, okay? I look at my dog and I say, you have a big booty. The dog doesn't get affected by it. A human being, what's different about them, they say, oh, that's sexual harassment. My point being is, the dog feels my energy, right? You know, he doesn't know the words I'm saying. She was feeling my energy. If my energy was that bad, she wouldn't have come up to me and peace on me. Even if she did it sarcastically, she wasn't actually threatened. My point is,
physically threatened, no, but she did not enjoy the comment, and you know she didn't enjoy the comment.
My point being, but even if she didn't enjoy it, she wasn't threatened. It wasn't as bad as you're trying to say. She came towards me. It was that scary.
To be clear, I'm not saying you murdered her. I'm just saying it's bad. That's the only thing I'm arguing is that it was bad. I'm not arguing because now it's like the thing. It's moving to a discussion of like, well, how bad is it? It's not how bad is it. I'm just trying to get across to you that it was bad, and that isn't even enough to get through to you. Apparently, like you won't even accept that.
Because I'm the villain. I'm the bad boy of media.
So you admit it's bad. So you admit it's bad.
I admit that I'm bad. I think I'm bad. I'm bad to the bone.
Okay.
I'm a bad boy. You need to watch yourself. When you're around primetime 99, things are going to get a little freaky deaky. And that's when I walk in the room. It's about to get freaky deaky. And if you don't understand that, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what we say here in the Conspiracy Castle. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm a pimp on a blimp eating steak and shrimp. You know this. I do this at city council. I do it at the school board. I do it at the steps of the Capitol. I don't stop grinding. I don't stop shining. I always blow your mind in because I'm primetime 99. And you know this. I know this. And now the whole world knows this.
Want to go to the front line with me?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Ukraine. Yeah, fly me out there. Yeah. Fly me out there. But see, they would kill me. As soon as I get down there, it would be, oh, right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Stein dead in the Ukraine in 45 minutes. But yeah, I'll come out there. And we can make a vlog.
Well, I don't know.
Fly me first class?
I don't know if they fly you first class. I don't know if they do that. I just want to see you try this. I just want you to do your skits on the front line. I want to see the soldiers react to it.
I would love that. As a matter of fact, you know, that's the other thing is, too, you know, you can say I'm a bad guy or something, but I do mean this. I'm a comedian. Am I your traditional comedian? I mean, I go do stand-up, but I don't even like that form of comedy. That's not my favorite form. I do like performing live. My point being is, like, you cannot take me as some sort of serious, you know, journalist or serious person. I'm a comedian. I'm joking. I'm trolling. Like, you know, and I get it that you don't like the way that I did it. I can understand. I can agree to disagree. But if you don't realize that I'm literally joking, then I'm trying to be funny, and sometimes I'm trying to push the boundaries, then I can't help you.
Do you think a joke can go too far? Do you believe that?
I mean, you know, honestly, I don't think with words. I think freedom of speech. I think you can basically say
you can't go. A joke cannot go too far if it's with words. I'm pretty sure I could I could conjure up something that you would say that's too far.
I mean, listen, there's like a joke called The Aristocrats. It's supposed to like the dirtiest, nastiest jokes. We did a documentary about it. I don't know, dude. Listen, we can argue semantics. Like, can you go too far? As a comedian,
that's very important because I'm arguing that you went too far, and you're arguing that you didn't. So that's the most basic.
I didn't go far enough.
What else would you have said?
Yeah,
then?
You know that. I would have said, let me see them. Let me see them cheeks, girl. Let me see that ass crack. That's what I would have said. I didn't say anything. I didn't say ass. I would have said, let me sniff them panties.
You don't realize how this is inappropriate to do to a person that you don't know. They don't know you. You just walk up to them and you start. No, you know her, but she doesn't know. You don't know you, and you start asking her about sniffing her panties and all.
She knows who I am now. I didn't say any of that to her.
You said you wanted to. You said you wanted to.
Well, she knows. I said just like you said you like to look at their dongs in between their suits. My point being is she knows who I is now. A pimp on a blimp. And
yeah, but I keep my thoughts to myself though. That's the difference, right? Because I know, I'm telling you, if I walked up to one of these Ukrainian soldiers and started asking them about their schlong, I don't think they're gonna have a nice time. And I would not like to make people feel that way because people don't like being objectified. I didn't like being objectified, and I don't think they would either. Definitely because I don't think they would receive it well.
I like being objectified. So that's
well. It seems that AOC has a difference with you on that.
She didn't dislike it that much, but listen,
I think she did. She made like 8 Instagram videos about it, very clearly describing how she didn't like it.
Well, our love story is not over. It's just beginning. We're on chapter 1.
Look, I have been a bad flirter before, but I've never had anybody I've ever flirted with ever been like make 8 Instagram videos about it afterwards. Describing how
it's because I cucked her right in front of her fiance, so she was really embarrassed about that too. She knew it was gonna go viral because Riley was right there. He didn't say anything, and it was so bad. He didn't even say, "Hey, bud, cut it out." It wasn't that bad.
I wonder what the dynamics of. I mean, it's hard to imagine like that she's ever would be like happy for him like jumping in and something like that. It's hard to imagine like.
What?
I personally,
why would a girl not want to be defended? They love that shit.
I imagine that it would have. I think there was probably some element in his mind of like, if I give him food, then it's gonna become a bigger thing. I think that's probably what he was thinking. But I can't imagine. I'm not in his shoes, so I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Don't feed the troll. I mean, if they didn't react to you at all, then it wouldn't have been a thing, right?
That's what they should have done. Adam Kinzinger, I called him out. He didn't react. Jamal Bowman, I kind of called him out. He just kind of had to laugh. They should have laughed it off. That's what they should have done, and then it would have been a nothing burger. But she acted like,
the thing is, but there was nothing funny about it from her perspective, man. She didn't find it funny.
Yeah, but from my perspective, it was hilarious. It was one of the funniest things possible.
Because you're not the congresswoman being sexually harassed.
It's not really sexual harassment. Come on.
But you said it. You admitted immediately at the start of this conversation with sexual harassment.
It was minor sexual harassment. But that's like saying, you know, you got a nice smile. What about this? The people. Have you not heard the argument where people like smile more? That's considered harassment. Where girls complain about guys saying.
I think that's bad, but I think you went further than that, and you would have to admit you went further than smile more when you start making comments about somebody's sexual body parts.
A butt is nice.
Dude, it is a sexual body part. And
when you have this skirt all up on your butt, all up tight like that, you gotta let it. She's letting it ride. I was letting it ride.
It doesn't matter what she was wearing. It doesn't impact it at all.
What?
No, it doesn't. Sexual harassment isn't like okayed because of what you're wearing.
She's wearing a tight skirt.
Who cares? Who cares?
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Life is not. It's not just a Ukrainian Donbass region war. Sometimes it's a love war, and love is all fair in love and war. So I love her with all my heart. I love you, AOC. If you're watching this, I love you. What, Dylan?
I was imagining the prospect of her watching this video.
Well, imagine her and I dating. Imagine that prospect.
I don't know if I want to.
Well, that would change the world for better. Okay, all right. We've been doing this for an hour and 30 minutes. We gotta go.
Okay. You have a good one. You're wrong.
It's always a pleasure. I'm sure. Oh, I'm so wrong. But you will love it that people are getting murdered right now in the Ukraine.
I don't love that people are getting killed in Ukraine. I believe they're fighting.
You said you liked the American military seeing it being used. That should make you sick to your stomach that bullet is.
I liked seeing that we're contributing to their struggle for liberation.
By giving them ammunitions that are being
that they're using. People. Yes, because they're using it for national liberation. You called me a pussy. Come on.
I am a pussy. I'm primetime the pussy pimp. Yes, I'm the pimp of all pussy. Yes, dude.
Okay. You have a good one, Alex. See you later.
All right. See ya.